everyone. Welcome to another episode of my immigrant diary. My name is Precious.
And my name is Wale.
Awesome. Today, we're going to continue from the last discussion we had. If you missed that, we're talking about Wale's journey to America. I know that last episode he shared an amazing story of how he landed in Estonia. And if you missed that, just click the link up here and you'll get you'll be able to watch that episode. But we're going to continue the story, and Wale is just going to take us through this amazing journey as we pen it down in our diary. Awesome. So Wale, over to you. I know we ended the last story with when you landed in Estonia, right?
Yeah.
So not sure what happened. How did you from that point, in 2016, I think?
Yes.
And from that time, what happened between that time and 2022 that you're now in America? Can you continue and tell us the story?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I had gotten to Estonia with the hope, of starting a new career and just going with that. I didn't have any much plan about moving or things like that. But unfortunately, like, it did not work out with the company that I was working with. So I had to leave. I had to leave the job, and then I had to start looking for other opportunities in Estonia.
Hold on, Wally. This is after the company has spent the money to relocate you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
This is after everything they did to relocate you from Nigeria to Estonia.
Yes. Yes.
And they let you go. Wow.
Yeah, it's life. I have not no, I don't really of course it was a difficult experience going through that, but like over time I decided to accept it, that it didn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense to me now, but that's the way life is. Sometimes some things don't make sense, and things that you don't expect happen. But yes, but I can I think that in hindsight, generally speaking, I think everything was I was better for it, because of one of the main things that is more of the main results of that is that, like, I started to look out for opportunities in Latvia. Latvia is basically it's southern to Estonia. They share the same border, pretty much like 2 hours, no, 4 hours from Tallinn. You get to Riga, which is the capital city of Latvia. So I had met a friend who is Latvian. Yeah, she came for a wedding in Estonia to her friend who is Latvian was getting married to an Estonian guy. So she came for that wedding. I was also I know I wasn't at the wedding, but she came for the wedding, and she came to and she stayed with a friend of ours who is my colleague. So my colleague brought her to work, I think. I'm not sure exactly how we met, but definitely I met her through my colleague, and then we just spent some time together, and we got to know each other. I got our contacts, since I knew she was in I got a contact, and she also is in IT, so I was like, this will be a great friendship. Like, we're both in similar fields. So eventually, when I lost the job, she was one of the persons that I contacted afterwards, that I've lost my job here, and I would I want to I'm looking for opportunities in Latvia. Let me know, if there's anything that can happen, since the industry, or the job market a lot better than I do. Can you help me? And something that she said to me was like, "Don't worry, come here, you're gonna get a job." I was just like, okay, well, I'll try not to worry. I mean, but
Yeah.
I honestly wasn't that confident, but she was very confident that I'm going to get a job. So I she sent my CV around, and that eventually got to some companies over there. One of the companies reached back out to me. They talked to me, see, if they could hire me, and then the interviews went well. And I think in the second during that interview, it was the first or the second, I'm not sure, but during one of the interviews, I told them that like, oh, I plan to visit Latvia, to come and meet this friend of mine who helped me got my resume around, to just hang out because I've never been to Latvia, but I just want to hang out anyway. And the company was like, oh yeah, since you're coming, so come over to the office. We'll make this a final interview, and then we'll let you know about our decision after that. And I was like, oh, that's great. So I went down to Latvia. I think it was in November. I went down to Latvia, and it wasn't the greatest weather, but it was because I also love traveling. So for me, regardless whether it was terrible weather,
Yes, two of us.
whether I'm meeting with a company here that I'm also interviewing with, it was gonna be great. So I arrived on Friday. I went straight to the company. I interviewed with them. I had an interview with them. It was a lunch, which was really nice. So I met with the team. We all talked, and afterwards I went on my way. I met up with my friend, and I met with other people, and we hung out. We explored the city. It was a lot of fun for me that night. So it was even better. It was much better because I really needed that trip. And so because my the time of my visa was actually getting closer to an end, and I was really worried I wasn't gonna get an offer or anything. So I go back to Latvia. My visa was gonna expire in December, and I think before December, I don't remember, I got a call back from the company that, oh, they want to hire me. I'm like, okay, sounds great. Like, how do we do this?
Yeah, nice.
So that started another complicated process also.
Uh,
Transitioning, because my visa was going to expire in December, they needed to
okay.
apply for a residence for me. So, and that would definitely take some time. It was going to take some time beyond when my visa was going to expire. So I spoke with them, and we agreed that like it's gonna be better that I go and apply continue the application or start the application from Nigeria, because we looked at all the options. There was just no way that I could I tried to extend my stay in Estonia, and there was nothing they could do for me. So I basically, I think it expired like around December 11, like it was or 12, or I don't know, one of the days. Like, assuming it was gonna expire December 12th, I left Estonia, I think on the same day that it expired. Like,
Like, hold on. Like, if you had stayed, what would have happened? Like,
yeah, so it definitely could have been complicated. Like, first of all, like they wouldn't have let me go at the airport if I had overstayed. And secondly, they would have started processing me for different things. So the worst case scenario is that like they would ban me from basically traveling to the EU for like 5 years. And of course there are other means that you could, opportunities that you could explore, but that wasn't my goal. I just wanted to focus on that, on getting the residence for Latvia, and that was it. That was my only aim. So I went back to Lagos, Nigeria. The same year, the same year I moved to Estonia, the same year I got back to Nigeria, and I
wow.
yeah, it wasn't easy at all. So I had to start working on the residence for Latvia. It took a long time. For I don't know if I spoke about the Estonian residence. When I applied for the Estonian residence, it took like 9 months, the whole process, I think. It took like 9 months. But 9 months, that time went back really quickly because I had like a full-time job. And so if I'm not working on anything, or if I'm not waiting, if I'm waiting on the documents I need, then I have my job that I'm doing, and that's just fine. But when I came back from Latvia, I didn't have any work any longer, so I was just focused on all the documents that I needed to get from Latvia, and that was a really challenging time, during
Yeah.
my life.
I mean,
So
I mean, it just had to be because now you had lost your job in Nigeria
yeah,
and now lost your job in Estonia, and
yes,
within a year you're back to Nigeria from Estonia.
yeah,
Could have been deported from Estonia to
yeah,
complicate your matter, and you could have been banned for 5 years from Europe, from EU countries.
yeah.
Dude, I have no idea how you did all of this. But now
Yeah.
you're in Nigeria. How did you what did you do next?
Yeah, so like I said, I had to focus on the getting my documents to move back to Latvia. And like I said, the first time it took like 9 months. This time around, I just didn't know how long it was gonna take. But the difficult part was just that I wasn't working. So I basically tried to do several things while I was in Lagos, and I generally don't mind doing those things. For example, I tried driving Uber for Uber. Um, um, but that quickly found that wasn't for me because I'm terrible how will I put it? I tend to make bad decisions when I'm experiencing a negative emotion. And the customers that I had, definitely they could give you a lot of
They
negative
trigger
energy,
you.
like from the way they
Yep.
are talking to you or whatever it is, like it's really, really bad. So I didn't
So
understand what
thumbs
it
up to all the customer service representative down
exactly.
here in the
They
comment
they
section.
they
Thumbs up to
do
you.
they do fantastic work that I could never do. Like that's what they do. So yeah, so I didn't do that. Then I don't remember the other things. But I also did like other kinds of driving job, like someone would need a driver to drive from one state to the other. I just pick it up and just that is a lot more like it's a company that is needing that kind of service. So they're a lot more professional. So I didn't have any issues with those kind of things. I'll do that just to keep my mind off, and myself busy. And of course, while doing that, I'm still working on my papers, working on my skills or refining my skills, and just waiting for the day to come. So eventually, like 7 months later, we were able to get like a plan in place, which meant that for similar to Estonia, Latvia also did not have an embassy in Nigeria. But the difference, they had a little bit of a different policies from the Estonians. Their policy when you want to move to Latvia is that the embassies in different parts of the world are responsible for certain regions. So although they had an embassy in Latvia, in Egypt, in London, and I think they also have an embassy in India, they restrict Africans and the Middle Easterns, I think, to the embassy in Egypt. So if you're coming from that part of the world, everybody just goes there to go and apply for whatever it is that it is. So I realized, yes, and I'm gonna have to go to Egypt. I started the process for the Egyptian visa also. Actually, no, that was before 7. I think that was like 5 months in that we knew I was going to do that. Then, by the time I started the process, I think a couple of months passed for the Egyptian visa. A couple of months passed by. I don't remember, but definitely additional time. Then, when I eventually got the visa, for to go to Egypt. Like it was I would say it was stressful, but it wasn't as stressful as getting a visa to go to India. So I booked the flights, headed down to Egypt. Oh yeah, one more thing. Like the one of the good things that I did was that I had applied for an Estonian residence before I left. So um
Oh,
and
oh,
that was gonna be already like 3 months. Once you apply, once you take your application, it's not gonna be available until 3 months later. So and so what happened was that I was able to apply for that and basically wait for that to be ready. Once that was ready before, obviously before my trip to Egypt. So I asked them to send it to Egypt. I already knew I was going to Egypt, so I just asked them to send it to Egypt. So I first asked them to send it to me. They said they don't send it. They don't send it directly to individuals, but you can pick it up from any of their embassies. So I send it to Egypt. So I knew I was gonna go pick it up when I go to Egypt. So um so I flew up to Egypt. Um so and anyway, my trip to Egypt, all of that was fine. The company was also really great with the whole process. They were supporting me throughout the process. They booked the flight, they booked the hotel, so that was fine. When I got to Egypt and I got to the embassy and I submitted all my documents to the Latvian embassy, and they came back and they told me that like some of the one of the documents that I sent needed to be signed by Nigerian authorities, basically. Um, so unfortunately, I had to send the paper. It meant I had to send the papers all the way back to Nigeria. Initially, I thought I was going to have to fly back, but I realized that I can actually work with someone. So these things that I'm saying that I say I realized or I found out, like it didn't just happen like just like that. Like I had to keep calling people, looking for people, following up on information, going to our embassy in Egypt. It was a lot, but I could find like this is what I need to do to get this thing done. So I did that. They sent me. I think instead of applying that week, I applied like was it 2 weeks later or something like that? I applied like 2 weeks later to the embassy. And the embassy, I had like a 30-day visa. So I had a 30-day visa. The um the the embassy um the embassy told me like they will give me like what's it called um they will approve my once yeah. So I had a 30-day visa, and so once I complete my application process, like I think it was already going into yeah, it was actually no, it was 2 weeks later after I got them. And they told me that like they would approve once they get they need to get an approval from Latvia before they can issue me a visa. That would take 2 weeks. Unfortunately, it was the week of Ramadan. So that meant that the whole country was shut down for like a week.
oh, Lord.
So 1 week, in addition to the 2 weeks of them for me to get a response, meant that I was going to overstay my visa in Egypt.
Yo, Egypt. Oh my
So,
God. Got the story to tell.
so it was very discouraging. I started looking for options on what to do. Luckily for me, I think the saving grace that I didn't know this. Actually I thought I was just going to go apply for my thing, get my visa, go to Latvia, start my life. I didn't expect that the Estonian residence that I had applied for would come true. So I already asked them to send it to Egypt. I went there, I picked up the residence, and that was what I was able to use to get to Europe. So I basically I because it takes, besides the financial stress, like it takes a lot of mental stress for you to be going through all these trips that you are moving, and then at that point I felt like, oh, you have to go back to where you've started, and then before you start, you don't know how long you're gonna wait. I didn't want to go through all that. I was like, "Okay, fine, I'll just go and wait in Latvia, and then we'll start from Latvia," because the process is pretty much the same. Like in Latvia, once you are approved, like you apply for your residence. Once you're approved, you apply for a residence. The day you apply for your residence, is this the day? No, the day you apply for a residence in Latvia, you don't apply for a residence outside of Latvia. You always apply from Latvia. So it's pretty much the same process. Like, so that's why I was confident about just going, because I had the Estonian visa. I just went on my trip to Riga with Estonian visa. Like with any country's visa, you can enter any country in the EU. So
since you have the residence, right? You made the
yeah,
residence, right?
the residence.
Because
I had the
Latvia
residence.
had not, visa had not come, so you took your residence. You
Yeah,
said
yeah,
your Estonian residence, okay,
yeah,
and you traveled with that.
yeah, exactly. So that's what I was able to use. I went to and basically I traveled and I started applying for you know, the I went there. I got there. The company, actually, they weren't expecting me to be there, because they were expecting that because of the situation in Nigeria, I would be back in Egypt, because they didn't give me the visa on time. I'll be back in Nigeria. So they were very surprised that I would get there. They asked me, "Oh, how did you do it?" And I just explained it to them exactly what I did. Like, I had a Estonian residence. I knew I could come here and just not cause any kind of delay. I didn't want anything to be delayed any longer. Yeah, and that's how I started working in Latvia. And eventually, I didn't. Also, I wasn't thinking about living in the US, actually. Like, for a long time, I even generally in my life, I've never imagined I would live in the US. But I'd imagined that I would live in Germany. So, but I wasn't living in Germany. I was living in Latvia at the time. And then after like working there for like a year, I had to leave the company again, and
Oh my God, what is
yeah.
it with you and these companies? What is it you're not telling, right? We need to
Uh,
check you. There has to be an explanation. Like,
yeah.
dude, man,
So
come
that
on.
was very interesting story. And I think that's a story for another day. But when I tell the people the story of how it happened, like it doesn't make sense. I think just like the situation in Estonia, like it
Nothing
didn't
makes sense.
make sense. Like
Nothing makes sense. Forget it. Well, nothing makes sense with you. All this story does don't make sense. Like, explain to me why you call. Come on, man, dude.